Each and every day, enjoy the Simple Six menu at Subway, an entire made-for-you meal featuring one of six-inch sandwiches like the Italian BMT or Black Forest ham, with any bag of chips and a 21-ounce drink, all for only $6. Subway. Eat fresh.
The B.S. Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. The B.S. Report. The B.S. Report with Bill Simmons.
Welcome to B.S. Report, a gloomy Wednesday here in Southern California. This is probably going up Wednesday afternoon, late East Coast time. Check out on Grantland.com. I started a new Wednesday NBA mailbag, 5,000 word limit, which I probably won't be able to hold myself to, but we're going to do it every Wednesday throughout the rest of the NBA season. Check that out, Grantland.com. Also have a bunch of great Oscars stuff, including Wesley Morris and Chris Connolly, who basically breaking down every Oscars category for us in video and podcast form, a little like the Bill and Jalen series. But those two guys have been on the BS Report multiple times. People love them. They're together. They are Siskel and Ebert 2.0. Check them out on Grantland channel, the podcast network, the whole thing. I think this stuff is really, really good. Anyway, speaking of people we love, we have not called this person in a long time. I'm getting a lot of emails about it. People are worried that we're feuding. The reality is we usually tape the podcast from 10 to 11 West Coast time, and that's when he does lunch. So it's always tough to figure out the right time to call him and sneak attack him, but we're doing that right now. We're going to call him my buddy JackO, lifelong Yankee fan, BS Report staple for 7 solid years, and now we're calling him. Let's do it.
Complex Litigation, this is John.
Johnny!
Hey, there he is.
I thought I'd give you 2 weeks to recover from the traumatic announcement that Derek Jeter was retiring. How you feeling?
To give me time to collect my thoughts. That was kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah, I didn't want to sneak attack you within the 48 hours where, I knew you were did you go to work? Did you call in sick for like 3 days? How'd you handle it?
Luckily, I think it was like Lincoln's birthday or President's Day or something. So I had the day off and learned about it on Twitter. So I had people didn't have to see me sobbing at my desk or anything. So that was good.
Were you surprised?
No, not really. I mean, the handwriting has been on the wall for a little while that he's certainly not the player that he once was. And I think anytime you lose basically an entire season to injury, and you're knocking on the door of 40, I think he is 40 now, it's getting to be that time, and he's got the 3,000 hits, and he's won championships, so he don't think he has anything left to prove, and he's the last of the core four. I always like to throw that in because I know how much you enjoy the core four.
I hate the core four.
He's the last man standing, so I think you could see the writing on the wall, and I can't say as I'm really super shocked, especially with new guys coming in, and the old guard is kind of moving out. So I think it's a good time. I think it's a good call by him.
When you said the writing was on the wall, did the writing say PEDs in big capital letters, or are you talking about writing about his career? I just wanted to find out for sure.
Come on. He's never put up, PEDs is ridiculous because he's never put up big power numbers and, any super flashy stats that would, make you scratch your head. He's been pretty consistent throughout his career. So I understand from a Red Sox perspective that you have to try and cast those aspersions on other teams, but I get it. But no, I don't think it was PEDs on the wall now.
No, I do not think there's really not a lot of PED evidence. He's probably one of the two guys from that entire era that I think people would safely assume stayed away. Him and Greg Maddux would be my two.
He never had some anomalous home run season where they were really off the charts that it made you go kind of, So I don't think there's any. He's got the 3,000 hits, but that's over the course of 15, 16 years. So I don't think there's any red flags there myself. Of course, I'm a homer, but.
Well, let's talk about the Yankee Fan Legacy first.
Well, I mean, as I put on, I think I put it on Twitter or maybe Facebook or both, but the 4 greatest Yankees, hands down, no argument, are in some order. Ruth is number 1, and then you could argue about 2 through 4 but it's Gehrig, Mantle, and DiMaggio. There's just no question that's the Mount Rushmore of the Yankees.
So that's Mount Yankmore.
Well, I don't love Yankmore, but yeah. That's the Mount Rushmore of the Yankees, yes. So, and then the argument becomes who's number 5. And Jeter is certainly in the conversation. I mean, he has more hits than any other Yankee. He has 5 championships. He's been the face of the franchise in this latest dynasty run that they had in the late 90s into 2000. He's been the captain and in a successful period for them of making the playoffs and winning championships. So, Yogi Berra is in the conversation. He's got 10, 11 rings, MVP a couple times, MVP of World Series, one of the faces of the franchise in the 50s. They're one of their, if not their greatest heyday. So, but to be in the conversation of the all-time great Yankees, I think is a good place for Jeter to be. To arguably be the 5th best Yankee of all time on Mount Rushmore of the Yankees is a pretty good legacy, I'd say.
So
A-Rod, people were questioning me on Twitter. Do I think that would I put him ahead of Mariano? And that's a good question. I mean, an everyday player, I think, is probably more valuable than a guy that got 3 outs in the 9th. Not to downgrade in any way Mariano's contribution, because obviously the Yankees were able to shorten games with him in 96 to make it a 7-inning game because he was so lights out in the 8th, and then you had Wetland in the 9th, and then certainly as the greatest closer of all time, hands down, he's been phenomenal and shut the door, and we're going to probably see how valuable he was this year when I bite my fingernails down to the knuckles with Dave Robertson. But I just think Jeter as an everyday player, as a captain, probably rates ahead of Mo.
A-Rod's not on the list for you?
No, he's not on Mount Yankmore. No, he's not. No, not yet. Still got 3 more years after this year's suspension, though, so you never know. He could still surprise us.
Is he on a least favorite Yankees Mount Rushmore?
Oh, my God, yeah.
Him, Hideki Irabu.
The least favorite Yankees Mount Rushmore is Butch Weiniger, Ed Whitson, Ruben Sierra,
Hideki Irabu.
May God rest his soul. Yeah, A-Rod. I'm sure A-Rod is probably knocking on the door of the least favorite Mount Yankmore. Yes, I'm sure there's other guys. Randy Johnson probably knocking on the door, I'd say.
Kevin Brown.
Oh my God! Whew. Yes, the therapy. I think I forgot about Kevin Brown, but that's right. Yeah, Kevin Brown. My God, yes.
You've spent some dumb money on some bad people pre-Jeter.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that 5th spot's interesting because you didn't mention Whitey Ford either.
No, you could mention Whitey Ford, but again, I mean, the guy, obviously probably the best the best starting pitcher in the Yankees organization, but still just a pitcher every 5th day. Very good pitcher, Hall of Famer. Deserves to have his number retired, et cetera, et cetera. But I'm not sure he's the 5th best Yankee of all time. I'd say it's between Berra and Jeter.
I think Mariano's got to be in there somewhere.
And Mariano, I mean, you can make a compelling case for any of those 3 guys, I think. But it's pretty special to say I was able to watch guys in the prime of my life that 2 of the guys that are in the conversation, because obviously I didn't see Ruth or Gehrig or DiMaggio or Mantle play. They were all well before my time. So pretty special to see, 2 guys that are definitely in the top, certainly in the top 10, hands down. So that's pretty good legacy.
I think for the Yankee fans, the Jeter part is part not rational because he was like the face of the franchise and just kind of fit in with that Yankee mold. Right. The guy that goes out there every day and he dates celebrities and he's just a great guy and he plays baseball the right way. I think
also
for the
came along at a time when, when they won in 96, they hadn't won a World Series since 1978.
Yeah.
Hadn't been to one since 1981. So it was a long dry spell. And so for a guy like me who was, 8 years old when they won in 78 and then went through a long dry spell all through the 80s and then halfway through the 90s, and then to have the Yankees. I mean, I remember celebrating in college when they had Stump Merrill and the Yankees went 81 and 81, I think our senior year of college. And it was like, what a turnaround because they had been so brutal before that. I'm sorry, that's when they had Showalter. It was the Stump Merrill years when they were brutal. And all the, controversy of Steinbrenner and firing managers and stupid trades and stupid free agent signings. So for Jeter to be the face on the new resilient Yankees that had, risen like a phoenix basically and were a dynasty again, and to be a good guy, an upstanding guy, and, talk to the media and all the things that he is, I mean, was just a, delight.
Hey, I'd be interested to think what the non-Yankee fans would say. Like, let's say this. You could give me a choice like Terminator, Schwarzenegger style, to go back in time and take one of these guys off the Yankees. What was that trade Mariano was in? Or was supposed to be in, and then he ended up not being in it in like 94, 95?
Some shortstop, and I forget who it was.
Right. So let's say I could go back to 1995 and convince Steinbrenner to trade one of these two guys. Which one would I convince him to trade because it would give the Red Sox a better chance against them over the next 18, 19 years?
The Red Sox are a bad example because a lot of teams, most teams would say it would be Mariano, but the Red Sox wouldn't because they kind of had Mariano's number, and they had a number of big wins and comebacks against him. So
having his number is a little strong. I think we probably had slightly more success than everyone else because we played him so many times.
To the extent that his number was had by anybody, it was had by the Red Sox, put it that way. And I mean, would you go back and get rid of, take out Jeter if you could in a time machine if you were an opposing team? I'm not sure you would because his numbers weren't, he didn't lead the league. I'm not sure if he ever led the league in batting. He certainly didn't lead the league in home runs. But and other teams, I mean, when you say, I wonder what other teams would say. I mean, I've read, there's been a backlash now about Jeter, and now I think we're going through the backlash to the backlash where Jeter defenders are coming back because it's like, everybody gets annoyed, and I understand it's a lot of hype because he played in New York and, Mr. Intangibles, and you always say Mr. Intangibles when you can't point to any other stats to where he made a difference. But I mean, Yankee fans could come back with when he dove into the stands to get the ball against the Red Sox while Nomar sat back on the bench that game, which precipitated Nomar's exit from Boston, or when he made the flip play to against Oakland in 2001 in the playoffs, which he just happened to be in the right spot and made a phenomenal play to get Jeremy Giambi at home. So, you can, or the home run in November in the World Series in 2001 after 9/11. So he's had some phenomenal moments. He's got 3,000 hits. No other Yankee has that. I think that he's got a phenomenal legacy, but I'm a little bit older too. So, I mean, I understand guys that are younger than me that will go to the mattresses for Jeter, and he's my favorite player. I love him too. But for me, my generation, it was Mattingly. I would have fought somebody to the death if you ever said anything about Don Mattingly, because he was the only thing the Yankees had in the 80s, and I love Don Mattingly. So it's I hear guys call up the Fan this week and say, or the past 2 weeks, and say, "Oh, Jeter's the best Yankee of all time," because they're 25 years old, But he's not the greatest Yankee of all time, but he's been a phenomenal Yankee. They're going to retire his number, and he's going to have a phenomenal legacy.
Yeah, it's a tough one. For me, I thought you could have replaced 80% of Jeter with somebody in free agency. I mean, literally, they just could have made A-Rod the shortstop in 2004. I don't know if there was no way to replace Mariano and how many years he did what he did. It was kind of incomprehensible.
Although, I mean, I do remember watching Yankees games in the late 90s, and they would talk to guys like Paul O'Neill and stuff. And at the time, he said, after we're retired, we're all going to say that Jeter was the best player that we played with.
That's interesting. See, that matters.
O'Neill didn't play with A-Rod, and maybe he didn't mean the best guy we ever played with in terms of a talent standpoint, but that's from a guy like Paul O'Neill, the warrior of Yankee lore, and he would say, I remember seeing, I don't know if it was in a World Series DVD or something, watching it, and he said, I'm going to tell everybody when I retire that Jeter was the best guy I played with. Now, whether that was combination of on-field performance, of being quote-unquote clutch, or being a good clubhouse guy, whatever it was, but that's right from the horse's mouth of guys that were in the room with him. So,
well, the other thing, you won in 99 and 2000, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he was awesome in those years.
Yeah, I mean, he was MVP in 2000 in the Subway Series, I believe. Either 99 or 2000. Mariano was MVP in 99, I think, and Jeter was MVP in 2000. So he does have a World Series MVP on his resume. That's nothing to shake a stick at.
In 99, he was 349. 438 OBP, 552 slugging. Mike, 24 homers, 102 RBIs. I mean, what do you have to do, Mike? 158 games.
There you go.
But I think people forget how good he was those first few years. And I was watching the Red Sox 30 for 30 in 2004 that we did was on 2 weeks ago, and I ended up watching it because it's just hard not to get sucked in, even though I'm in it, which is a weird wrinkle to it. But there's a moment in Game 5. I think I'm going to say it was the 6th inning. It was Pedro's last inning in the game. and Jeter just smoked him with a double to right. And it was like I remember sitting in the stands and watching it and thinking like, God, he's gonna take the pitch to right field. I've seen him do this 400 times, and then he freaking did it, and he had a double, and it was like just rooting against that guy all those years. The stats maybe didn't back it up. Sometimes he wasn't great in that series, but I was always terrified of him. And whether that's rational or not, I always felt like he was going to come through, and I always felt like we were screwed when he was up. So that's got to count for something.
There's a pretty phenomenal stat that they mentioned because they replayed his press conference when he got down to spring training last week on Francesa's show when I was driving home. And whoever the Yankees PR guy was or whatever, he had a pretty good stat. And I don't have the exact numbers, but and some of it is a little bit pseudo because he was out all last year. But regardless, Jeter's played in 2,600 games as a Yankee or something like that. It's like it's either 26 or 2,800 games. He played in one game where the Yankees were mathematically eliminated from the playoffs.
Wow.
Now, that's a testament to the teams they've put together, and there's a wild card and all that. I get that. But to play in 2,600 games and have won, presumably in 2008 when they didn't make the playoffs, or obviously in 2008 when they didn't make the playoffs, to play in only one game where they've been mathematically eliminated, that's pretty impressive.
Oh, and then the other part that people forget, because it's been 20 years really, is what a death march that was from 88 to 94, basically?
Oh, yeah.
You didn't win 90 games once.
No, literally our senior year in college, I remember high-fiving other Yankee fans because they were going to go 81 and 81. I mean, literally, that people forget like what a dark age it was for Yankee fandom. Everybody always thinks, guys that are younger than us and now, Yankees make the playoffs every year. They go out and buy championships. Well, they tried to buy a lot between 1978 and 1996, and they wasted a lot of money and didn't have a lot of success.
The Yankees in 1990 were 67 and 95.
Yeah.
We forgot about on the worst Yankee Mount Rushmore. Steve Sax has to be on there because he literally lost the ability to throw.
Yeah, you get Steve Sax. Yeah, I was thinking back to those days, and the glory days was when they drafted Brian Taylor, who was number one pick, and they gave him like $1.5 million, and he was going to be the next Sandy Koufax, and he never threw a pitch for him. I don't think he was hurt his arm in a bar fight and went downhill from there.
Mattingly had a chance. Like if you had asked me in 86 or 87, is Mattingly going to end up forging his way into the Yankee Mount Rushmore? I would have bet anything.
Oh, absolutely.
It's too bad.
Back just betrayed him, and that he just didn't play enough games. But he was definitely on his way to the Yankees Mount Rushmore, no question about it.
Is Jim Abbott on the one-handed Yankee Mount Rushmore?
Absolutely. I think that he's the only guy, but he's definitely there.
He was one of the four. How many no-hitter perfect games have you had?
Well, he threw one, Dwight Gooden,
Jim Abbott.
Cohen and Wells threw perfect games.
Ed Whitson?
No, Ed Whitson didn't throw. No. There was
a
weird no-hitter in the 80s. Oh,
Joe Cowley?
Huh?
Joe Cowley?
Did he
Was
throw
that you?
one?
Yeah,
No,
Joe Cowley had one where he had 6 walks and he still got the no-hitter. But I don't remember if it was for the Yankees or the White Sox.
Yankees quote-unquote no-hitter in the 80s or 90s, and it was, what's his name? It was like Andy Hawkins or something, and he lost the game 4-0 on it was like 7 walks and like a 4-base error by Mel Hall or something in the outfield. So they lost the game, but he gave up no hits. But then I think it was Spay Vincent when he was commissioner for like a minute and a half, and they basically decreed that to get a no-hitter, you had to pitch 9 innings and you had to win the game.
Here you go. I have the list. Turns out there's something called the internet where you can look this stuff up.
Really?
You had a 27-year drought from Don Larson to Dave Righetti, which happened on
Dave Righetti, who struck out Wade Boggs on the 4th of July. That's right.
Yeah, I didn't like that game.
That was a great one.
I didn't enjoy that at all. Jim Abbott, 93. Dwight Gooden in 96.
Yeah.
David Wells, second perfect game in Yankee history, May 17th, 1998. And then David Cohn, third perfect game in 99. So you've had 5.
Yeah.
Pretty impressive. Hey.
And Mike Mussina just missed one against the Red Sox in 2001, I believe. Carl Everett broke it up in the 8th.
Yeah, I have an angry column on my old website about that one because some people wasn't there a whole thing about whether the Red Sox fans should have cheered the no-hitter or not? Or somebody or a couple fans were kind of cheering it. I remember there being a lot of bitterness in Red Sox Nation about that one.
I remember Carl Everett celebrated like he just won the World Series when he got to first, but I guess that's a big accomplishment to break it up, and it's your rival, so. Oh,
I really wanted him to break it up. I root for all no-hitters in perfect games except Yankees. Actually, anybody versus the Red Sox, but Yankees especially. Hey, did you think it was funny / interesting / poetic that Jeter comes to Fenway for the final game?
I did see that, yes. And I made a joke on Twitter that I'm sure the Red Sox, in their inimitable fashion, will honor him with a montage of him getting hit by Pedro Martinez pitches over and over, set to a soundtrack by Mariah Carey.
I think he's going to get the Mariano thing kind of degenerated into a roast a little bit.
Yeah.
He had a little bit of a roast feel. I'm not sure that was handled 100% correctly, and he's such a good guy, he wasn't going to get mad about it. But I like the symmetry of him coming to Fenway. I think there were only 2 Yankees in my lifetime. Actually, no, we like Mattingly too. Those are the 3 Yankees that the Red Sox fans were probably okay with. I'm not saying we rooted for them.
Right.
We were kind of okay with. Like they could have, we would have happily taken them in Boston. Mattingly, because there were definitely some Mattingly Bird similarities in the mid '80s because of the Indiana thing, and but I think it's a cool way for that whole thing to end. I'm excited. Yeah,
it is fitting, and I'm frankly a little bit surprised that Jeter came out ahead of time and announced that he's going to retire at the end of the year, and he said at his press conference because he didn't want to answer a lot of questions about it over and over, but he doesn't really strike me as like the farewell tour type. Like, I can't see him going for that, getting dragged out before the game to get like a, painting from the Oakland A's or something, or like a rocking chair or whatever. Like, it just doesn't seem to be his style, really. Like, he seems too cool for that almost. Not to say that Mo wasn't, but, Mo had a thing all year of like meeting with like the grounds crew and clubhouse guys and their families and stuff. And that's the type of guy he is. But Jeter just doesn't seem like the type that he really wants to be like dragged out there and have to give a speech to like the Orioles or whatever, I
have a theory on this. I feel like there's something up, maybe. Like a documentary, or there's some sort of something in the works. Yeah. Yeah.
Maybe it was a motivational tool for the team to say, like, let's win one for Jeets.
But is he engaged or is he not engaged?
No, he's not engaged.
I thought he was getting engaged to Hannah Davis, whoever that is.
Oh, is he? I don't know. I didn't hear about. Well, there's always rumors of false engagements with him because a couple of years ago, it looked like he was going to get engaged to Minka Kelly, and she appeared in the HBO documentary about the 3,000 hits, and he was talking about starting a family, and it seemed like she was like part of the family, and you figured that was going to seal the deal, and then next thing she was with Wilmer Valderrama or whatever. So she was a little too.
She was a little too involved in that documentary. I think that's one of the reasons he dumped her. He was like, really? Why are you so in this?
Maybe, but I would think he had to authorize that. So I don't know. Yeah, I didn't realize he was getting engaged again now.
No, he's not. I just looked it up.
Oh, all right. That's good.
I'm glad he's not getting engaged because this goes to your farewell tour thing.
Yeah.
Instead of giving him gifts, I think each city should give him some woman from the area that Jeter would like. Like Derek.
I'm not sure he needs help in that regard, though.
Well, if he handpicked, they try to figure out what his preferences are. Derek, welcome to Kansas City. There's a waitress here at a local barbecue joint we think you'd really enjoy. Here she is. Her name's Tiffany. Thank you. Thank you to the Royals. Thanks to Tiffany.
I'm sure he would enjoy that. But I think he, what do you get for the man who has everything? I think he has everything in that regard.
You get him women that he would have trouble finding out on his own because he's Derek Jeter. It's tough for him to meet people. He's too famous. Just set him up.
Jeter looks at the Sports Illustrated swimsuit catalog like it's a shopping catalog. I think so.
It's like the airplane catalog.
That's right. Sky Mall.
How else other than the Jeter retirement, how else are you feeling about the Yanks as we head toward opening day here?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know. I honestly don't know what to think. It's like I don't know how I feel about CC Sabathia looking like he weighs about 150 pounds.
Yeah, who saw that coming?
Troubling photograph. Like, there's an awful photograph of him from a Knicks game, which was hopefully just from a bad angle, because there's other pictures where he looks better, but that one he looked almost kind of sickly. So, he's a big guy. A lot of times these big guys need that to get some oomph on their fastball, so I don't know how that's going to affect him. I guess presumably he has more stamina now, and maybe he'll go a little bit longer, but I don't know. Kuroda tailed off the second half of last year, so you don't know where you're getting out of him. And I mean, this Tanaka is a complete crapshoot. I read something yesterday online about the greatest bullpen session in the history of baseball. It made me think of the famous Penny Hardaway workout when he got drafted second. Like, what exactly did he do in a bullpen? Because I guess he can throw 6 pitches or something. Brian McCann was raving about it, but I'm like, that's always the kiss of death, the great bullpen, I mean, some of the things I've read about him I don't love. Like, I think it was Andrew Jones played for his team in Japan this year, and he's like, well, he's not a strikeout pitcher, and he pitches to contact, but gets a lot of ground balls. I'm like, well, that's great, because what's one thing to pitch to contact in Japan, but they make contact in the major leagues, and there might be nobody to field it except for somebody sitting in the upper deck. So I don't know about that, but
I did some recon on that dude, obviously, because I'm in the League of Dorks, and anytime there's a new high-priced pitcher coming in, I want to find out as much as possible. The consensus seems to be that he's the second best pitcher from Japan to come into baseball behind Darvish.
All right. We'll see. I just don't know what to make of him. I like that he rented like a 787 for him and his wife and his dog to fly over.
Yeah, that was interesting.
It's good way to spend that money, but got $150 million, you can do what you want, I guess.
I was disappointed that Ryan Dempster decided to retire well after the Tanaka bidding had happened, because that would have been some 8-figure money for the Red Sox to play with. But that disappointment was quickly tempered by the fact that Ryan Dempster retired, and I didn't have to watch him pitch this year. Very happy. Nobody was calling Ryan and asking him to reconsider.
No, they were.
Ryan, you sure?
Back.
You sure? Can we talk? You maybe think about it for 2 days. That conversation did not happen.
Yeah, he got to go out on top. That's the way he went right off to the sunset.
He's like, I got to talk to you guys about something. They're like, we signed this right here. We signed this cocktail napkin. You signed this to tell us for sure you're retiring. I like this spot that the Red Sox are in.
They're quiet, everything's quiet, but except for the annual as normal as the change from winter to spring is the big puppy. I'm not respected until you give me a contract extension.
He's right. He's on the Red Sox Mount Rushmore. You got to take care of that dude.
Of course they should, but every year he comes out and screams about all the people that don't want to sign him, and universally everybody said they should sign him. They owe him money. Give him what he wants. And he comes out and screams about being disrespected.
Well, there's a couple of small fears with this Red Sox team. We're playing with house money. I don't know if you know, but we won the title last year.
Did you really? Yeah. I thought I heard something about that.
It's a 5-year grace period. I'm not going to get too bent out of shape.
Right. My 5-year grace period's up this year, so I start to get edgy.
Ooh. I like that obviously Bogarts was the right move. You want to put the X-Man in short. Middlebrooks, I think you give him third base. You don't have to worry about him hiding his affair with Jenny Dell anymore.
Right.
That's out in the open.
Wide open about that.
They're not sneaking around in hotel rooms at 4 a.m. hoping she doesn't get fired. By the way, I'm still waiting to meet the first Red Sox fan who thinks that Jenny Dell should lose her job over that. All of us like Jenny Dell.
Well,
100% approval rating.
You know who the first Red Sox guy is that thinks she should lose her job over that is Will Middlebrooks, because I don't think he wants her traveling with him on the road.
Yeah, that's true.
He probably gets his balls broken by everybody in the locker room repeatedly. So the last thing he needs is, oh, Will, you're going to sit with Jenny on the bus? It's the last thing he needs. I think he called Nesson and was like, I think you should let her go.
I don't know who they picked yet. Probably not a female this next time.
I don't know. They seem to give the people what they want.
Well, I thought Jenny Dell was great. I almost thought, I feel the same way about Abby Chin on the Celtics games. Like, the best sideline reporters are the people who are totally overqualified to be the sideline reporter, and they're clearly headed toward doing better things.
Yeah.
That's what you want. That's the wheelhouse you want for the sideline reporter. Somebody who's like, wow, how she could be doing better. Like, why isn't she hosting Sports Nation or something? That's what you want with the sideline reporter. And we had that with Jenny Dell. She made the mistake of falling in love with the third baseman.
You know, it's a big league move by Middlebrooks because it's obviously Jenny's a very attractive young lady, and
it's a great job. Great job by him, Mike. It's just a great job by him.
You have 25 red-blooded males on a baseball team that
he wins.
I'm sure she's been the subject of locker room conversation.
Yes.
Every guy has probably thought about it. He's like, well, it's probably a conflict, and she probably gets hit on by everybody. Wouldn't want to do it. And Middlebrooks just stepped right up to the plate.
High degree of difficulty. It's weird. I see both sides, right? Like, the people do the thing like, oh, it's journalistically the ethics. You cross that line. And it's like, she wasn't, what was the old lady, Helen Thomas? She's not Helen Thomas in the White House firing questions at the president. It's a freaking baseball game. You're like, hey, Will, what happened out there? You really got a hold of that fastball.
Right.
Oh boy. I hate to have a conflict of interest with those biting, insightful questions.
Well, the problem becomes if they break up. And it's a bad breakup.
Good point, Johnny.
She catches him with Hazel May or something, or some
Poor
groupie,
Hazel.
and then she's doing, then she has to do a sideline interview with Will Middlebrooks, and there's a lot of bitterness and ugliness there. The people don't want to see that.
Oh, I disagree. I'd love to see it.
Oh, well, of course.
What's better than that?
Let's put it this way: Nesson doesn't want to see that.
Yeah, well, that's a great point, and that's probably why they probably realized she had to go.
Because Nesson, like the Yes Network, I mean, they're all homers anyway. Whether they're literally in bed with the Red Sox or figuratively, it's all the same thing. I mean, none of them are going to say anything critical. It's not, like you say, it's not Helen Thomas. It's not Meet the Press.
Will, tell us about that 2-2 pitch in the eighth. Will, talk about that triple in the 11th inning. What were you thinking when you stepped in there? Like, really, what do you ask baseball players? They have nothing to say. I'm still waiting to hear my first interesting interview after a game with a baseball player.
No, it's ridiculous. I was just thinking about, like, if they broke up and then she had to interview him. Came up a little short on that play, huh, Will? Like the time you came up short after we had dinner at that pizza place? Couldn't quite pull the trigger, huh? Oh, I know what that's like.
Couple feet short of that homer. Story of your life, huh, Will?
Couldn't quite commit that ground ball, huh? Just like you couldn't commit to me. That would be the best.
Oh, man, I wish he was back. I wish he was back. Well, anyway,
hopefully the next sideline reporter will date another Red Sox, and maybe that will end in ugliness, and we'll get some joy out of that.
Well, but you have that, then you have the whole Jerry Remy thing, which there's no humor at all in that one.
Oh, my God, no.
But that's like a black cloud hanging over the season. Then on top of that, A.J. Przinsky, who I always thought was
one of the most loathsome people in baseball, is on the franchise I loathe the most. It's a beautiful symmetry.
But I guess I need to do more research on this. I got to admit, I'm still a couple weeks away from really diving into this Red Sox season and having full-formed opinions on it. But what was the deal with him? Opponents don't like him, or everybody doesn't like him?
Everybody dislikes him. That's what I understand.
That's what I thought. Like, I thought if he was on your own team, you didn't like him.
Yeah, I think opponents despise him, but even people on his own team don't like him.
So I think he's always that feels like a problem.
Huh?
That kind of feels like a problem.
Yeah, let's hope so. Let's hope he's a clubhouse cancer.
Because their chemistry was unbelievable last year.
And this year they don't have the beards. They got rid of that. No more beards, and you have potential clubhouse cancer. It's good.
See, yeah, I think of this season in my head, and I think like slow start, like right around June, where we're 35 and 31, something like that. And then somebody grows the beard and they try to like belatedly get the beard thing going again, but it feels forced and it doesn't work. And that's my fear for this season. Other than Jackie Bradley Jr. hitting 190 again.
Hall of Famer Jackie Bradley Jr. Yeah.
But we have, one of the things I like about the season is they have the flexibility to as the trade deadline gets closer. I always hate when baseball teams try to make their team complete in November and December, because every year in June and July there's dudes available. You know, so hold the fort. If Jackie Bradley doesn't make it, then you go out and get a center fielder. If that fifth starter hole ends up being a big hole and none of the guys from AAA can come up and man it up, then go out and get somebody there. I think they're in a nice spot. I'm glad they didn't do the panic signing of, somebody weird.
Yeah, there wasn't a lot. I mean, the Yankees bought up everybody basically, so there wasn't like anybody that was stupendous out there to go get.
What was your favorite Yankee signing?
Probably Brian McCann, because I like having a fiery catcher like Posada was. He was kind of a de facto team leader, even though Jeter was the captain, where Posada would be bench jockeying and screaming at Pedro about throwing at guys' heads and stuff, and screaming at guys in the clubhouse. I like that. And McCann, by all accounts, is pretty fiery, and he's got a pretty good home run swing with the short right field porch there. So I'm excited for him. I think he'll be good. I like having a solid catcher.
He wasn't cheap.
No, he was. Nobody was. It's funny. They signed so many people in such a flurry that I was on Twitter the other day and I followed the Yankees and they had like picture day and they're like Carlos Beltran and his pinstripes. I'm like, that's right, they have Carlos Beltran. And I completely forgot about that. It was kind of under the radar because they have between Ellsbury and McCann and Tanaka. And I was like, oh yeah, Beltran.
So Ichiro is a DH now?
Well, the amazing thing was everybody said, well, they have Brett Gardner to dangle out there with a favorable contract if they need another starter to get a pitcher.
But they just signed him.
I know, and then they just went the other day and re-signed him, or signed him to a 4-year extension for $52 million. So I don't know what they're doing. And then everybody was saying, well, they're going to get rid of Ichiro if they could find a team willing to take him and they'd eat some of his salary. But he's still there, so they got like 5 outfielders, and they need DH to give Jeter a break every so often and Teixeira a break. So DH is going to be kind of like a open door for a lot of people.
Poor Ichiro. You kind of liked Ichiro last year.
I do like Ichiro, but for a right fielder, he doesn't have any pop, so you want to see a little bit more power there. So
I guess maybe when you're the 297 on base is a problem.
That wasn't helping matters either.
With no power at all.
Right.
Ouch.
Yeah.
Not too bad. It was fun seeing him in the uniform.
Yeah, we'll see what happens.
When does Mark Teixeira's contract end, just out of curiosity?
It's a good question. When did they sign him? 2000, I think, what did they give him, 10 years? And like 2000, his first season would have been when they won the World Series. That was 2009. So
he's on a different kind of
4 or 5 years with him, I think.
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I think you're right. This is year 6. I thought it was 8 years.
Okay, so he's got this year and then 2 more.
Congratulations on that.
At like 28 mil or something. Yeah, that's good. No, 18 maybe, whatever.
Does he have a chance to play himself on the least popular Yankee Mount Rushmore? I feel like it's in play still.
I don't know. He comes across as a good guy, and he does hit home runs. See what he does this year. It wasn't a good sign when he basically said that he's always going to have stiffness in the wrist, that it's never going to get better. I wasn't really a hopeful.
He said that?
That didn't really make me feel great.
You kind of have to use your wrists when you're hitting baseballs that are 98 miles an hour.
It helps, yeah.
Well, you don't win the 2009 title without him.
Exactly.
I think that's fair to say.
Or with A-Rod, so really,
God, what a tainted title that was. You still feel good about that? You have to give that one back?
About what? The
2009. Does that still count?
Oh, you can never give back championships. Okay. Come on now. That's what you play for.
What are you hoping for Bud Selig's replacement?
I'd like him not to be owned by the Red Sox franchise. That would be a refreshing change.
Johnny, I'm right here.
But I don't know. I don't even remember his name. It's been so long since baseball.
There's a funny article. I saw it somewhere, and the headline was something like, Lucchino has hunch Selig may stay on. I don't think Selig's leaving.
Really?
I don't. I really don't. I think it's a great job. I think these guys all have huge egos. And I'll be honest, I don't think David Stern wanted to leave. I think they pushed his ass out.
They showed him the door, you think?
Yeah, I think they did. I think they kind of gave him a little gentle 30-hand nudge.
If you have like labor peace in your sport, if there's no like big contracts, negotiations on the horizon where there could be a strike and you have a favorable TV deal, Yeah, being a commissioner is not terrible. Look at Goodell; he just made $40 million last year.
44.
Whatever.
$44 million.
$44 million to basically just keep 30 owners happy and lowball former players when they sue.
Baseball is a great example of how a great players union can really change the game for people. And the NBA has had the worst players union going for a long time.
Well,
and
the NFL too. The NFL players
right.
union is horrific.
Well, it got a little better lately, but still not great. But what did Gardner sign for?
4 years, 52.
Yeah, that's if you look at it from an NBA standpoint, that's almost as much as Kevin Durant makes.
Oh my God.
I mean, the NBA players union is horrible.
One of the best one or two players in the league, Oh my God.
Mark Teixeira would be the highest paid player in the NBA.
Jeez, what's LeBron make?
LeBron's like $16 million a year, something like that.
Oh my God.
It's terrible. The NBA players, if they don't strike in 2017, then they are insane. Because LeBron should make $75 million a year. He would get that on the open market.
I mean, this is the thing, and I know you love the NBA, you're an NBA guy, but when they have the trading deadline and it's all this salary cap stuff, or I read your articles about the 30 worst contracts, and I only understand about half of it because I never follow the NBA, but the whole salary cap thing, and when you have this salary cap and you have a sport where, we're going to trade this guy just so you can release him and get a salary cap thing. It's what is going on there? It doesn't make any sense. You have to have this trade machine on ESPN so you can balance the contracts and balance the money. And everybody's like, there's too much money in baseball. And I understand I'm a Yankees fan, so I'm never going to say that. But really, do you want to have a salary cap in the sport and try to understand? And there's no trades in the NFL. And you're, then you have cap problems and you're hamstrung by the cap. It's just, you need to have a degree in accounting to understand sports. I don't know. It's ridiculous.
Well, I'll tell you, it's great for me because I think I'm one of 9 people who understands how to use the trade machine. So I hope it stays this way. I love it. But yeah, I agree with you. It does seem like something's wrong with that system. And the baseball system of just, hey, that guy's worth the most. Go get him.
Yeah.
Plus baseball is just hemorrhaging money right now with these local rights deals.
Yeah.
And it just seems like that's, especially now that live rights are becoming more and more and more valuable, and you're basically locking into 600 hours of primetime programming and day programming or whatever, but just day after day for 6 months, you have stuff on your channel that
right.
Guaranteed stuff that gets ratings that people have to watch in the moment and they can't tape.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I'll be interested to see what happens with that Nesson model, because I think that's going to shift. I think you're almost just better off selling out to a cable company and grabbing the cash over owning your own network.
Right.
What did the Yankees really get from the Yes Network? Wouldn't they be better off just selling out to Cablevision or one of those stations?
I don't know. I think they like having the control over it, though.
What control? So now you control who Michael Kay is going to have in Yankeeography?
No. But I mean, you control the programming, and you're always painted in a favorable light. It's a big PR thing. You don't have to worry about putting your contract out there every year and trying to get it to the highest bidder if it's a down year. What if the Yankees contract was up after last year when they had no really marketable players because Jeter's hurt? You have the A-Rod thing and Teixeira's out. They don't make the playoffs. They basically weren't relevant from September on. And now you're going to be like, hey, what's the bid on the Yankees? That's part of the reason I guess they went out and spent a fortune, was to make, have relevant guys and be relevant throughout the season. So because their ratings were down last year.
Well, I guess there's a good point in controlling the message, which is why I wouldn't be surprised if the Red Sox tried to own their TV station and the Boston Globe. Oh, wait, that's already in play. I forgot.
There you go.
I forgot. They own every conceivable form of media coverage of themselves.
That's right. So when they want to get rid of Francona, they can plant stories in multiple different markets and media formats to tell about his pill-popping addiction or whatever.
We don't do that stuff anymore, Johnny. We've moved forward. We're the defending champs. We have good chemistry. We're Boston strong.
There you go.
Before we go, any TV shows that have captured your fancy lately?
Well, I still love Justified. That's the best show on television. My wife and I are one of probably 3 people in America that are watching this show, Black Sails, on Starz.
Oh.
And which was trashed by your TV reviewer, I believe.
We call him connoisseur.
What's that?
He's a TV connoisseur.
That's right.
Not the reviewer.
He murdered it, but we've been watching it anyway. And
is that like a typical?
So I like that. So
yeah, I was going to say typical Star show, which is somebody's naked every 15 minutes.
Pretty much, yeah. There's a lot of nudity and pirates, so it's not bad. But I don't think anybody watches that. And
that'd be a good blurb for the poster. A lot of nudity, and pirates. JackO, the B.S Report.
Feel free to use that, stars. But no, otherwise, I'm always I feel left out of these things. Like I don't watch The Walking Dead, and everybody, that everybody's crazy about that. Or one of these days we're going to watch Game of Thrones and get started on that. But I'm way behind the scenes, way behind the times on that. So
Game of Thrones is easy. That's 30 episodes. You can bang that out in 3 weeks.
Yeah, maybe in the summer when everything's in reruns, we'll get that going. Yeah, and the show Vikings on the History Channel that was on last year, we got into that. That comes back on Thursday. I'm excited for Vikings. That's
real
good.
Vikings, not the Minnesota Vikings.
No, not the Minnesota Vikings. It's like a fictional show about, real Norwegian Vikings.
I'm surprised you aren't in a True Detective because that seems like it's in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's another one. And I guess I still have time to get on that train because everybody on Twitter and everywhere else is always talking about that. But then people said it's like Twin Peaks, and I have no interest in Twin Peaks. So
no, it's not like Twin Peaks.
All right. Maybe I'll get into that. I like the mystery of it, and everybody has different theories and all that. So I always feel like, I like to be part of these cultural phenomena that everybody's talking about on social media. I feel like I'm left out.
There's some big...
What was the show? God, I can't even think of it. The guy made meth. What the hell was that? Breaking Bad. Everybody was like, Breaking Bad. Oh, my God. I'm blown away. And I never watched it, so you feel left out.
Well, I don't blame you for feeling left out. It was only one of the 3 greatest television shows of all time.
I know. Well, what are you going to
do? On True Detective last Sunday, there was a nude scene that got some internet mileage, and the actress who was in the nude scene was named Lily Simmons.
Oh, my God, really?
And I was thinking what a disaster it would have been if we had named our daughter Lily, and then there was a Lily Simmons internet nude scene. And you just think it puts everything in perspective, Johnny.
You don't
sobering parent moment.
You don't want to be famous for being the father of the woman who made internet history with a nude scene or whatever. No, you don't want that.
Or the father of somebody who has the same name of somebody who made
internet history. Yeah,
who's in those internet circles. Yeah, I think you'd like True Detective.
All right,
Johnny.
All right, buddy.
Spring training is upon us. It was good
the Olympics
to talk.
are over. Onward and upward to baseball.
Oh, we never talked about the Olympics. You love the Olympics.
I do. I like the Winter Olympics. And this year, more than probably since 1980, I was really into the hockey. I've been secretly into hockey this year. I've actually watched several New York Rangers games.
Oh, the healing has begun from the mighty whale leaving 2 decades ago.
The HBO 24/7 thing, and then people pointed out to me that there's something on CNBC, I can't remember what the hell it's called, but it's like the 24/7 behind the scenes hockey thing. Doesn't have any swearing because it's CNBC or NBC Sports Network or whatever. But I do like the hockey, and I've been watching a lot of Rangers games, so I was really into the Olympic hockey this year.
Yeah,
I got up at 7 in the morning on Saturday, which is easy with 2 small kids, and I was actually happy they woke me up because I could watch the U.S.-Russia game. I watched every minute of it. I was in edge of my seat. I was all in on the U.S. hockey team, and then I actually was home. I had a cold. I left work early because I'm I don't feel well, and I'm I want to watch the U.S.-Canada game, and then freaking Canadians just killed us. That was disappointing.
Yeah, it was a 1-0 blowout somehow.
Exactly. They
dominated the game.
Their defense and whatever, we couldn't do anything. It was pathetic, and then the game against Finland, I knew if they got scored again, if the Finland scored first, it was going to be a ball game because the U.S. wanted no part of it after losing to Canada.
I go to a lot of Kings games.
Yeah.
And it was fun to watch, Canada and the U.S. and some of these other teams. You'd be like, oh, that guy from Columbus.
Right.
Oh, that guy from Minnesota. It was a lot of that. I love the hockey as well. And I really thought the U.S. was going to be a little bit better than they were. It became quickly clear during that game that Canada had 9 of the best 12 players in the game, which is a problem.
I had a sort of a theory. I watched a lot of their games, the hockey games, and when they played Russia and they played the Czech Republic, they were pretty physical. Guys like Callahan from the Rangers was throwing his body around, and talking smack after the whistle and pushing guys. They played Canada, and they were not physical at all. And I think it's because too many of them were teammates. Like they're on the same team in the NHL. Like maybe there's only like one or two Russian guys, but everybody's a Canadian or an American. Yeah. And the Canadians just came in and they're like, well, like, oh, I can't push Sid Crosby around. You know, we're on the same team. I can't really go check Rick Nash because he's my locker mate. You know, they weren't as physical as all. And so Canada was probably more talented. And if the U.S. wasn't out physicaling them, then Canada was able to just dominate. I mean, they were like a cat with a mouse at certain points in that game.
The Crosby Bergeron line was terrifying. I didn't like the coaching. I thought our two scariest guys were Kessel and Kane.
Yeah.
And I would have ridden those guys into the ground.
Well, Kane was kind of disappointing though, because he had about 4 different breakaways in different games and he couldn't finish.
I know, but he was always in the mix. Like he's always so scary to root against. It was fun to actually have him on my team, even if it was for 2 weeks. I enjoyed having him. Kessel was great.
Great player.
Yeah, they were like one kind of sniper / playmaker guy short. It always seemed like they just never had enough guys out there.
I really thought this was going to be the year because, like, it seemed like from Twitter and Facebook, like, people were really into it, more so than other years. And, like, they were going to play the Canada-U.S. game on the fan. And it was like people really got behind it. Like, yeah, U.S. hockey, like, we're going to do it. And you thought maybe that would get him over the hump, even though, 4 years ago we missed a gold medal by a shot by Crosby at the end. But like it really felt good this year, and then like they got in the medal round, and it was just like, oh, that was just terrible.
I like then it was a really bad ending too.
Yeah.
I enjoyed the women's figure skating. I thought was just tremendous. I intentionally did not go on any websites to find out who won.
Oh my God.
Yeah, I stayed away. I had no idea, and I liked the little twist where everyone thought the 15-year-old Russian was going to be her breakout, but then the 17-year-old overlooked Russian.
See, I would never want to participate in a sport or an Olympics, and I guess I'm past the age where we have to worry about that, but I would never want to be involved in a sport where it comes down to subjective judging. And it's based on like my outfit, or they don't like my routine or my music. Like just trained for 4 years, and some, Bulgarian judge is like, I don't care for music, 5.2 or whatever. Like, I'd be like, oh, that's brutal. Or even like
your accent.
Thank you. I want to be something where you like race the clock or score more goals than the other guy or person. I don't want to have to subjective judging.
The Korean girl got screwed. I don't know if she should have won or not, but her score was way too low. That was weird in the finals. Especially because the announcers were gushing over how good she was. The other one I enjoyed was the ice dancing with
the American,
with the two kids, the American kids that have known each other forever, like even through like all their awkward puberty stages.
I like the old videos they had.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. That the both of them were like, do we have to really give the videos to NBC? Like,
I know. Except they figured it was a way to get on Wheaties box and
True, it
commercials
worked.
Or whatever.
And the two moms were just, they had some sort of media consultant, like, look, we're going to sell the hell out of you guys. Just make sure you sit together. If you go to the bathroom, go together.
Right. Well, see, the problem is usually we have a good, like, female figure skater that becomes America's sweetheart, but we didn't have anybody good enough for that, so we had to get, like, ice dancing shoved down our throats because that was, like, the best American skating hope. Yeah,
they really tried to push the whole Gracie Gold thing.
Yeah.
Like, Gracie Gold came on the last 6 months, and then you watch, it was like, not there yet.
My favorite sport is when they have like the race on snowboard cross.
Oh, and people just wipe out left and right. Yeah, I love that too.
That's pretty. And like one guy's in the lead, and then he wipes out, and the guy that's fourth comes across. That's really cool.
There's a lot of screaming in that. People get wiped out, and they get hurt like ah.
Yeah, exactly.
Like you hear that in the microphones.
The whole snowboard community, like that whole thing, it's like a whole subset. And I know this joke's made 8 billion times, but like every one of those guys, like they're like, win, lose, whatever, man, it's all cool. We're just gonna get high. Like they're just like right. They don't care in any way. There's no pressure on them because they're just like live to snowboard and smoke weed. America,
I think that
USA.
It did seem like there was a lot of X game events. Maybe we're just old and we're used to watching a different
Well, they put
kind
those
of Olympics,
in, one, because I think America could get more medals, and two, that they were trying to go for a younger demographic, How many countries really participate, like have like a snowboard half pipe? We probably have 40 of them in Vermont and, 50 of them in Aspen, but like what other country has that? Like if they have a lot of those in Latvia?
No, I'm guessing no.
So they're like, yeah, U.S. will dominate. Let's put this in.
Yeah, I really think one of the best ideas I've ever had in my life was that the gold medal all the medals should be different sizes depending on how important the sport is.
Yeah.
And some of those gimmicky X Game events just feel like that just shouldn't be worth as much as the women's figure skating gold medal. The women's figure skating gold medal should be gigantic. It should look like a Flava Flav medal. And like if you win for like I don't know, 4-man bobsled or something, it should be a smaller medal. It should be the same.
All you do is push it and hop in the back. You're just riding a sled. You're
like Lola Jones became a bobsledder in a year.
Like 2 minutes, I know.
She's like, hey, I'm gonna make the Olympics as a bobsledder. All right, I'm just gonna do that. And like a year later, she's in the Olympics.
Well, the crazy one to me is like the cross country skiing, because they're like amazing world-class athletes, and they get across the finish line and they just collapse, and they're on the ground for like 10 minutes, like puking and frozen snot on their face. And it's like, that's a sport. That's when you get a medal, when you've like cross-country skied 30 kilometers or whatever, and you have nothing left. That's just ridiculous.
Or like in figure skating, you're doing it since you're 4 years old. You have no life. Your parents are driving you to the rink at 4 a.m. Your whole life revolves around it. You have no other hobbies or interests. And then like Lola Jones can just waltz in and become a bobsledder in 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Something's broken with that, Johnny.
I know. And the heartbreak of training, like you say, since you're 4 years old, and every minute of every day, and blowing off parties and friends and life, and then it's all over. Like you're a speed skater and you lose by miss out on a medal by 0.01 seconds or whatever. You're like, well, go get him in 4 years. Like it's just brutal.
It should be every 3 years. I also felt bad for Costas. I just feel like that was a sign of how much society has changed in 40 years, because like if Jim McKay missed the 84 Winter Olympics because he had a massive eye infection, we just would have been bummed out. We would have been like, oh man, I feel bad for Jim McKay. This isn't as fun without Jim McKay. But with Costas, it's like, look at his eyes. Hey,
I know,
internet gifs. And it's just like, the poor guy's his eyes are crusted shut. All he's doing is trying to set the Olympic record for most consecutive Olympics or whatever. I felt bad for him. Maybe I'm getting old and
sappy. He'll get another shot in Rio in 2 years. He hosts every Olympics, so he'll be all right.
He'll be all right. His eyes will have cleared up by then, right?
Hopefully. He'll be okay.
At least he had a semi-sense of humor about it.
Yeah.
I think they dragged in Matt Lauer with the beard, and it's like he's working 20 hours in 24 days. It's like, how does NBC not have a contingency plan for one of their hosts going down in the Olympics?
Well, then Lauer couldn't do it, and they had to get Meredith Vieira from wherever she was over there doing it. Not a great bench over there.
No, work on your bench, NBC.
Dan Patrick was doing the days. They should have just put him at night.
I don't get it. Where was Al Michaels? Criminally misused.
That's right.
Hey, Mikey, you got Al Michaels right there.
Yeah, terrible job.
It's a humongous mistake. All right, JackO, a pleasure. Yes. As always, good talking to you. We'll talk to you as we get closer to the season. Thank you very much.
Good. See you soon. Bye-bye.
All right, before we go, I want to give a shout-out to Stamps.com, our longtime sponsor of the BS Report, one of them anyway. If you go to Stamps.com, click on their special offer for radio and podcast companies. You type in BS, and you get a whole bunch of stuff. You get money off stamps, you get a scale, you get a whole bunch of things. So check that out, Stamps.com. Don't go to the post office anymore. Turn your office into your own personal post office. Thanks to them. Thanks to Subway. Thanks for listening. We'll be back in the BS Report later this week.
So I get to sign off. Whoa!
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Pod Center at ESPNRadio.com.
Peace out.
Gotta say, Golick, great call on grabbing Subway for lunch and getting guacamole on our subs.
Told you this new guac really amps up the flavor.
Yep, something adding up things can be great. Guacamole on your sub, a new co-host to replace you.
What was that?
Oh, no, nothing.
Subway now has deliciously rich new guacamole made from ripe Hass avocados with just a hint of garlic, onion, and jalapeno. Discover how new guacamole turns up the flavor on any of your freshly made favorites. Subway, eat fresh.